how do we end these videos?
I think we just fade to black. So, what would you like to talk about first? We have a billion things to talk about.
We have a billion, so we better get started. I think I want to talk about ideas first and backlogs,
Okay.
because this is something that I deal with constantly. I'm sure you deal with it constantly too. Like, how many ideas do you have that you have never acted on, and that you have been like forever said to yourself, someday I'm going to write that book, and you have never even touched it?
There, I've got many, many notebooks full of half-baked ideas, but there are some things that are really fleshed out. There's one middle grade kind of age story I've been trying to get to for about 10 years, probably. And I picture it being a pretty big stretch of books and a pretty big series, but yeah, I haven't been able to get to that one just yet. There's a lot of sequels, there's a lot of other series, but like that's one that I really really want to get to.
Well, and this brings up a good question because so obviously you've written a lot in the last 10 years, which is, I've known you just a bit longer than that, I think. And as long as I've known you, you've written so many books per year. Um, so it's like, to me, you could squeeze in another book, another series. Now, do you feel that that's true? Or is there some other like reason why you're just not getting into that one yet?
I think the biggest thing with that is because it is so grand in scope, like I want it to be several books long. Um, I don't know, it's that's one I don't want to screw up too. Like I really want to get that one right.
Not
Maybe
like
it's
all your other
because
ones that you've screwed up so badly.
those, I mean, yeah, the pressure gets worse every time. It really does. But because it's a kid's book, because it's that kind of stuff, that's more I want to really really get that one right. But I think there's always, especially after having put so many out, there's so much pressure to do the next sequel, to do the next. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way with
I am feeling
Apocalyptic
that a
Mom,
lot
right?
right now. Yep.
Especially in just the way it works these days, the marketplace and all that. A series is more viable than a single title as well. So it kind of makes fiscal sense to blow out a series a little more, which I hate to say, but this is the year I hope I can get to the projects that never really got a lot of traction or something new and it'll have time to kind of grow and have time to find a footing. But it took a lot to get to that place where you can kind of try something new and step away from the not a sure thing, but just a bit more certain thing. Like I know another Duck and Cover book will be well received. Um, I know another Shattered Alliance will be well received. I know there are two people that want another Damien Stockwell book, and one of them's
Three.
me. Three? There's
Yep.
three of us now.
I'm in that
Um,
group.
and hopefully this is the year I can get to. Like I've had three other Stockwell novels outlined for the last 5, 6 years, and I really want to get to those. So, but same question back to you. How many ideas do you have kind of percolating at once, and how do you pick which one to kind of focus on next?
I wish I knew the answer to that question, to the last question, because if I knew how I pick them, I would do a much better job of picking them. I have so many, and actually, that was the genesis of the original kind of a billion bad ideas a few years ago. When we've done this kind of this theme in different ways, and that was one of the ideas for me was I have so many, so many ideas, and some of them are just like titles or very very loose ideas. Some of them are pretty far down the outline road, and they're just sitting in notebooks on my computer, like they're everywhere. I have dozens and dozens, and I just don't get back to them. And I don't really understand why. I mean, part of it I do. Life gets in the way, as
Hmm.
I'm sure it does for all of us. I right now my situation is I have two small children, so that is kind of that's I am learning now. I think I'm finally learning after 5 years from the birth of my first daughter how to sort of work in writing.
Yeah.
the last 8 months have been the most productive writing wise since she was born in 2020. So that's felt good. I'm getting there. But even before that, there are ideas I've had that I really like that are 15 years old. I don't really know why I don't go back to them. Part of it is what you said about series. Like my friend, I was talking to a very good friend of mine and kind of idea collaborator, Dave Bloom. This weekend he was in town visiting, and we were talking about this, and he's like, "Why don't you write more of Mabel Gray or Anomaly Flats?" And I told him, like, I am now suddenly that I am almost done with the Apocalypticon series. I just want it done,
Mm.
and it's not that I am sick of the series. I love it, and I would, you know, there's part of me that would write it forever, but I cannot write it forever, and I will not write it forever. It has to be done so I can focus on other things. And now that I'm almost there, like I'm hyper focused on like getting that out the door. And to me, that feels like once that series has a bookend, now I can explore other things. I don't know what those other things will be because I have so many other series that I've always wanted to write that I've started.
Mm.
So it's tough. I think it's, as you were talking, Ben, I was thinking like in the early days when we would talk, because we've known each other since 2014-ish, I think. And we used to talk a lot about how, there are people who write to market, and there's still people who obviously who write to market and do really well, but they don't love what they write. They just write because they know it'll sell. And kind of what you're talking about, and maybe what I'm circling around is we're sort of finding our own way to write to market, which is we're writing
Mm.
to our market. And
That's a good way to put it.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
valuable. So
Yeah.
I love that. And also it's frustrating, but it's great. And it's being a writer is really weird, is where I
Oh,
come down, I
it's
think.
very, very weird. I mean, I have a feeling I think there's six tends to be a magic number as far as like a series book length. As far as marketing it, six is easier.
Schoolhouse Rock, I think, would disagree, but go on.
Um, but there's even a couple like tremendously huge series like Goosebumps didn't take off until there's six books. The Jim Butcher's books didn't take off until there were six. The Dresden Files, like when it hit book number six, that's when it exploded. I don't know if there's just something magic about the number or whatever. So I kind of look at it like I've got seven books in my Duck and Cover series now. I've got three, almost four in Shattered Alliance. I feel like if I can get a couple of those to that area, and I'm sure it's a false belief and like a false sense of security. If I get a couple series to six, I can do whatever I want, and then I can start really messing around with one-off titles or something that's a little outside of what people normally expect from me, something for younger kids. Although um,
Do you have this
uh,
idea that Duck and Cover, for example, do you have an idea for the ending of that series, or is it still kind of open-ended for you?
I've got it was the genesis of that idea was God, there was a series of books called The Deathlands, and I don't know how many titles there were. I think they're still going. It started in the early 80s, and they're still releasing them on audiobook every year. There's two or 300. Like it's a men's adventure pulp kind of thing, and that was a lot of the inspiration for it. It's like a Saturday morning cartoon. I think there's an infinite number of adventures the people can have. I think there is a bigger storyline, and there's starting to be there are definitely some connective threads, and I do have, I don't know if it's a conclusion, but I do have kind of a goal in mind for what's coming on. But I don't picture it as some epic fantasy cycle that's going to have a definitive kind of closure to it.
Well, I
So
think this is part of trap is the wrong word. It's not a trap. Like we are, we're so, it's a real privilege to be able to write these books, right? And it's a privilege that people read them and want more and more and more and more. But there's also something in it where it's like, if there's no ending to it, it it may be that you just keep writing all these series out, right? And you never get to the things you want to write. And that's part of the reason why I'm ending Apocalypticon after book five, even though it's not the magic number. I have to be done with it for my own sanity in a way because there are so many ideas I have to get out of my head, and I don't think I could do it if I have to keep writing that story.
mhm.
But I'm also thinking like, well, once I end that story, how else can I go back to that world? Because I never like leaving a world, like cemented off.
Yeah.
So I'm already thinking about like, well, there's short story collections, are there spin-off novels and things, and that's kind of a trap because it's like, well, I have so many other things. Like, why can't I leave that alone? And I don't quite understand it.
I think I've gotten like for the duck and cover stuff, I've gotten it to a place where I don't feel like I've got to get the next one now, right? Like I feel like, okay, if I can get a new novel every year for that series, I'd feel good about that. I don't feel pressured to go like, oh, there needs to be something new. It was a long stretch between um excuse me, the fifth novel and the sixth novel. It was a long stretch. It was 6 years. So I think we were both hitting kind of a
Let's say now you're talking Clayton Smith territory. That's maybe
it
even longer
was.
than
I
my stretch.
struggled. I hit a real dry spot. I got a few books out, collections of short stories. I went to the dad's. There was and I did the Shattered Alliance books too. I mean, it hit. It was the pandemic. I mean, it was like 2019 was the last time I think I put out a duck and cover book, and then we were in the middle of what looked like the end of the world, and all of a sudden it was like I didn't want to think about it.
Right.
So I went to outer space, I went to the future, and I went off planet. I mean, it was like I got as far away from it as possible. And so I did other books, but I really did slow down and I struggled to come back to it. And then after a few years, man, I ended up writing, it was just like you did with Apocalypticon 3. Um, you wrote that in like a month and a half, I think. I think I did Champion in a month. Like I've never written a book that fast, that
Yeah.
not of that length. And I guess it was 4 or 5 years of pent up whatever. But now that that's out there, I feel like okay, I don't feel like I'm pressured to get that out, and I can start playing around with some other things. I'd like to get Shattered Alliance done to a couple more books, just because the more I've thought about it, I've got some really fun ideas to play with in that one, and I'm excited to get to those. But then
You have
after that,
three
I
of
think
those out now. Is that right?
there's three. Yeah, I'm working on the fourth one, but
Nice.
I've already kind of got 5 and 6 outlined just because as I was kind of playing around, I'm like, oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. And some of the characters have really kind of come into their own over the last couple books that I can't wait to throw into trouble. So, um, but yeah, I mean, to answer the original question, man, the notebooks are thick and deep, and there's lots of stuff I want to play with. There's stuff we've talked about doing together too that
Uh-huh.
I'd like to go back and revisit. And hopefully, this is kind of a year when we can start to kind of play around with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I hope so too. Do you think you'll feel bad in hindsight if you don't ever write that children's book?
I think it's one I feel bad I didn't write it for my children. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get it for the grandkids. Um, it would have been a fun tale. It's an idea I've played around with for a long time. I've drawn a bunch of stuff for it that's never seen the light of day. Not that it's a comic book or anything. I've just kind of played with this idea for this character. But I think of all the ideas I've got scratched down, if I don't get to that one, I will feel like I wish I had done. But hopefully it's coming. Hopefully it's
Yeah.
coming soon. We've kind of changed up how we're marketing our stuff over here, my wife and I, and it's opened up a lot of opportunities beyond trying to. Um, we figured out how to kind of market without going to the trying to work with the algorithm or climb the charts on Amazon and all this stuff. So we're able to better find our markets now. So it's much more of a realistic idea rather than just a retirement idea. Like,
Yeah.
well, once we're done with everything else, I'll get around to it. You know.
Well, I can't wait to steal all your ideas and get there too.
Yeah, I'm sure you've already had them. I'm sure you've got the same idea. That's I don't think I've ever said this one out loud just in
Right.
case you already have it. And we're like, damn it, again. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we talk about them or not. We all end up with the same storylines every time.
I haven't even I haven't even asked about Apocalypticon 5 yet. I don't want to know. I don't even want to know a little bit about it because I don't
I
want
haven't
to.
read because I haven't read any of your since your riverboat paddleboat story. I have not read any further in the series because I can't. I want total plausible deniability.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, no, I'll tell you what it's like after I finished it, and then we can compare notes on how exactly similar it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's like Duck and Cover 9. That's right. That's exactly what it's like. Yeah.
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 How do we end these videos?
I think we just fade to black.